Now, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to our first panel session of the day on customer experience, digital CX. How have customer expectations changed over the past decade? And it's very exciting to see that what Noel just spoke, the same flow is being continued on the next panel, of course, with more excitement and more knowledge to be shared by a plethora of not one or two, but 9 expert panel members. So before I call the panel members on stage, I would like to highlight a few points they are going to talk about. How have customer expectations changed over the past decade? Empowering the customer through conversational AI, transforming customer services from physical contact to zero touch mode, and many more. So without taking much time, let us welcome all the panel members in the order of the sequence, and please help me welcome them with a big round of applause. Joining us first, we have Mr. Shankar Mishra, Senior Vice President, Customer Experience from Future Generali India Insurance Company. A big round of applause to Shankar Mishra. Mr. Mishra, welcome to the panel. Please take your seat. Joining next, we have, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. KAMLESH MANUJA, Chief Operating Officer from Edelweiss Tokyo Life Insurance. A big round of applause to KAMLESH. KAMLESH, welcome to the panel. Please take your seat. Joining next, ladies and gentlemen, we have Ms. Sapna Desai, Chief Marketing Officer from ManipalCigna Health Insurance Company. A big round of applause to Sapna. Sapna, welcome to the panel session. Joining next, ladies and gentlemen, we have Ms. Anjana Rao, CSO from IndiaFirst Life Insurance. A big round of applause to Ms. Anjana. Ms. Anjana, welcome to the panel. Joining next, we have Hrishita Chandwani, AVP, IMF and Strategic Initiatives from Max Life Insurance. A big round of applause to Ms. Hrishita. Hrishita, welcome to the panel. Joining next on the panel, ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Jitendra, Attra, CFO and Head of Operations from Edelweiss General Insurance Company. A big round of applause to Jitendra. Jitendra, welcome to the panel. Joining next in this panel, ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Sachin, Shanbhag, Vice President, Data Office, Tata AIG General Insurance. A big round of applause to Sachin. Sachin, welcome to the panel. Joining next in this fantastic panel, we have Mr. Mangesh Vaidla, co-founder and executive director, C2L Place. A big round of applause to Mangeshji. Mangeshji, welcome to the panel. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite the honorable moderator of the panel, Mr. Muktesh Narula, CMO from Pinnacle Teleservices. Mukteshji, welcome to the panel. So, fantastic panel session of 9 experts. Mukteshji, all over to you, and I'm looking forward to an overwhelming session here.
Thank you very much. Good morning and welcome to this panel discussion on the digitalization of insurance companies' customer journey. Like Noel has talked a lot about digital transformation that has happened in the past few years, but pandemic has certainly accelerated the adoption of digital channels across all industries, and insurance, of course, is no exception. So today, we will be discussing the impact of this shift on customer expectations, as well as the benefits and challenges of digital transformation of insurers. As customer expectations continue to evolve, insurers must adopt to stay competitive. We'll be hearing from all the experts and the learned panelists on how they are leveraging technology to enhance the customer experience. So I'll start by my first question, which is, I would like Sapna to answer this. As technology and innovation continue to shape customer experiences, how have customer expectations evolved over the past decade, and what can insurance companies do to keep up these changes?
Thank you so much. Am I audible? I think so. So good morning, everyone. Real pleasure to be here today in this forum. Very exciting topic, and lots happening in this sector. So just kind of getting the flow and going with the first start of the question. Before really customer expectations, I think I want to draw attention to how consumer behavior has changed. And the fact is all of us are consumers, so we'll be able to relate to that. And then customer service and experience and so on. I'm coming with, someone to share some things on that. So in terms of how consumer behavior has changed, I think one thing which really kind of is that consumers now expect us to know them. You have to know me, understand me, and make it easier for me. I think that's the bottom line. And I'm not saying this only from insurance, I'm saying it across sectors. So consumers expect one, that we know them, we understand them, and make it easier for them. I'm sure all of us will agree. And I think the second thing in terms of consumer behavior that has kind of rapidly changed in the last 2-3 years is that the usage of digital across all the segments, right from boomers to millennials and of course Gen Z, is completely accelerated. So people don't want, digital is way of life. So they want to interact with you, digitally. Many times people don't want to speak, they just want to text, WhatsApp, get done with it. So I think the second thing in terms of consumer behavior is the digital usage has multiplied. And I think the third, and I, saying it also from a marketing, because that's maybe, I'm too late, right, is that every consumer is now a journalist. Yeah, with our smartphones and access to social platforms. Earlier it was only journalism and media who could talk about brands. Today, every consumer is your first media person. With that. So if you kind of keep these 3 things in the back of your mind and then move on to the question of customer expectations. So I think there are a couple of 2-3 things that start drawing attention, and of course, we have an esteemed panel that we will take on the conversation forward. But I think the one key thing is that people want, cohort of one, personalized service. In terms of expectation, it's not that we could do everything for everybody, like mass television or digital. My feed, my story, my content, so I think, and technology is allowing that. So I think personalization for me would be a big shift in customer expectation. And I think the second thing I'll draw attention to, and maybe we can come back on this panel, is that especially in insurance, trust is a very important thing. Because anyway, sometimes we become ridden with this thing that it's not an industry that's very trusted. So trust, transparency, openness of data, and what you can do with that data. I think that's so consumers are willing to share things with you, and that's an expect as long as I get something back. So I think that's another change in the expectation. And yeah, there are many more, but I'll pass it on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sapna. Since as a solution provider, so I would like him to also add to what Sapna has said.
Yeah. Thank you, Muktesh. So I'll probably extend what Sapna talked about. I think हम सबको 2 चीज remember यहाँ we retain. One is either data or a case study, right? So I'm probably going to share to elude this so that we may pick up the content much better. So if you look at the insurance company's catchment, and largely I'm zooming in on that particular bit. Largely what we saw in the previous presentation, it's to a tune, we tend to cover the catchment up to 60 years of age or 65 years of age, which means essentially talking about taking Zen X, Zen Y as a part of catchment on that particular bit. There are 2 peculiar trends, and we talk about a fancy term, digitization, personalization, using AI, ML. How does it actually kinds of unfold? If you look at what the customer is actually looking at, today your customer is saying that yes, COVID has taught me that I can move towards a digital platform. If you look at your online shoppings, online portals, today none of us have a choice. We actually have to slip towards an area where the customer is able to consume us onto a digital part. So that's a must. That's a hygiene where we stand onto that particular bit. Today, if your catchment is going to be Zen X, Zen Y, that's the area, that's the cohort we want to talk about. This cohort of customers are actually interacting more than 2x times as compared to a traditional customer. Which means insurance is a contract of trust. You probably want to do a physical meeting, which could be digital, but you actually, before doing an agent meeting, or you have to do after an agent meeting, you end up comparing the products online. 75% of the customers are actually using digital mediums to do product comparison. 79% of the consumers, and that's the published information, are actually relying on social media reviews or social media comments before taking a decision. And the third important part, which is very, very critical, 75% of the people are willing to take a product from a newbie, provided they are able to see certain amount of innovation, speed purely from a feedback point of view, and third, more importantly, is the reliability. So essentially, if you look at, that's the first part, is digital is hygiene. The more important part is what is the new generation is going to value about saying that how I am being treated, how the company's reputation is there. And the second important part, we've all seen airlines for that particular example. I may go to a third-party website to do my flight comparison. What is the cheapest deal available? I may book towards a third party, do a web check-in through the airline portal, use a call center or a chat window in order to get an information. So if you look at the second important element is how am I actually treating my customer purely from an omni-channel or a multi-access point of view. Insurance, if you look at BFSI, indeed the I is last, and on the innovation or the customer centricity part, we are actually laggards. Sorry to say, there are a lot of improvement expected from where we stand. And that's the reason I'm looking at airline example. I think as an insurance company, be it a life insurance or a health insurance or a general insurance, there's a long roadmap plotted for us to move towards an airline example which I'm talking about. So which means essentially, how am I creating that omni-channel experience? How am I creating the responsiveness towards the customer? And the third important part is how am I creating a reliability where the consumer is assured that what company I have chosen is the company who's going to give me a peace of mind in terms of claim settlement when I need the most. So I think long and short, digital is hygiene. Second important part is how do you create the consumer response mechanism and how do you create a multi-access is the part I would probably want to highlight.
Thank you. Yes, sure.
So, in addition to what Sapna mentioned or KAMLESH mentioned, I just captured some stats which I wanted to share. Like how the customer expectations are changing. Like 48% of consumers, they are willing to spend more when their experience is personalized. 83% of customers are willing to share their data if the experience that they are going to get in lieu of it is personalized. And 91% of customers are willing to buy from you if you remember them and are able to provide them, relevant offerings. So personalization, as my two co-panelists mentioned, is the key. And that's the pulse to tap, basis the evolving customer expectation. So this is one bit which I wanted to add.
Yes. So, like in the previous presentation also, we heard about customers wanting that the company should know them. So that's important. That builds a lot of trust. Thank you very much, Muktesh and Anjana. So we also heard about the conversational AI, how it has emerged as a powerful tool for customer engagement. So I would want to know in what ways can conversational AI empower customers to make better decisions and enhance their overall experience. Anyone can be. Anjana, yes.
Can I couple it with conversation AI along with voice as well, right? So, again, I'm taking this particular conversation ahead. We spoke of the earlier presentation also spoke about how we call it that India is evolving and India has the largest young population. So far we have been catering to a population which was not digitally native, but now they have also accelerated and they are also in the game, right? So now, if the expectations are changing, how an insurance company can leverage on technologies like voice, because once the experience, once somebody has experienced an ecosystem of an e-commerce, the straight direct comparison is always, well, this is what an e-commerce portal can provide me. What is it that, So is there a way in which conversational AI and coupled with voice AI can be used to provide an experience which is really a differentiator? So we've already seen during pandemic how WhatsApp, the moment we had enabled self-servicing features on WhatsApp, there was an instant pick. Now similarly a shift, why should I go to a company's website or a company's app to fulfill my policy servicing options? Can I not have a personal assistant who can help me on demand, let me know what is my fund value, who can let me know what is, the reminders which I need to get for my policy premium payment, or it could be for any service request which I want to put in, or if I want to talk to my relationship manager, I directly route the request through this service assistant, who is a voice assistant, equivalent of Jarvis maybe. Yeah, so that is something which could be something which the insurance companies can strive for to provide the next level of services using the technologies that we have at use. So where I've seen voice AI being largely used is analyzing the calls, analyzing the sentiments, coupling the sentiment analysis along with the decisions, the dispositions which have been updated by the call center executive, so that to understand whether there is a match. If a customer has a tonality of annoyance, but still the call has been disposed as a good call. So is there a coherence or there is a dissonance, and then what needs to be done? Analyzing voice again of a sales calls to understand how's a leading sales person, what are the keywords being used, how is his pitch, what is his tonality, what is the energy level, how can that be replicated, so that the overall productivity can be improvised across the sales force. So these are a couple of use cases which I thought could help, voice AI, conversational AI.
Just to add to what you said, from a customer perspective, I feel that two areas where AI interaction or interface will help is that, one, as a customer, how do I know that the advice that is being given to me is unbiased of a seller? So if AI can add there that the advice that is being given to me is unbiased and is based on a log which is more analytical and more reasoning based, one is that. Second is that we see in our interactions with clients, and the normal noise of customer today is that I don't need so many calls. So how do we reduce that chatter for a prospect or a customer, that he's not annoyed? Today, a lot of sellers, they don't know the difference between approaching the customer and annoying the customer. So how do we have a technology-based interaction where we are having an interaction where we are nudging the customer to buy, at the same time not annoying it? So,
just to add to the point, see, one of the reasons the conversational AI seems to be picking up is also because it is, as you rightly pointed out, it's non-intrusive. It is an asynchronous communication which we got used to in terms of the WhatsApps. So it is as and when it is available, and as and when I need, and I can interact. So that becomes a very good behavior rather than an intrusive call center calling up or chasing up. So whenever a person has time, that becomes. But the real issue is not only about conversational, it is AI in general, which will actually, because the decision is not made by the conversational AI. The algorithm that you mentioned is actually is very important. The algorithm needs the AI in general to analyze what propensity models will have evolved and which propensity puts that customer in what cohort. And based on this cohort, what should be the recommendation? So that algorithm evolution. So it is the AI in general which is more significantly important, while conversational is only adding the layer of communication through the comfortable lingo as such.
Right. Thank you very much. That was quite insightful. And I'm happy to know that WhatsApp is making a big difference because we are the BSPs for Meta and we sell WhatsApp. So Pinnacle can help you guys there. Okay, so my next question is from Mr. Shankar. This is about pandemic, like how pandemic has accelerated the shift towards zero-touch customer service we talked about in the previous presentation also. So how are the leading insurers are leveraging digital solutions to transform their customer service offerings and create a seamless experience for their customers?
Hello. Yeah. Thanks, Muktesh. That's a great question. So, while we are talking about going touchless and hopefully, of course, the pandemic is over, I'm sure that when people met here today, they have done away with the touchless actually and they did shook hands whenever they came to each other. So, today the participants who are here, I think either they are insurers, they are insurance providers who are serving the insurance companies, or insurtechs, and all are trying to get a pie of that market which is available, and all are trying also to improve the penetration. Now, this insurance also which we are so generalizing, and of course there are experts here, that works different for different kind of businesses which are there, like for the life business or the health business, because there is a date of birth, there is a phone number, there is a name. It operates very differently, and digital becomes very easy to do. And then there is a very commoditized kind of general insurance, where perhaps the customer doesn't even know that who his insurer was throughout the period of the policy. And it was just something which was bundled to him along with the car that he bought, and the dealer said that this is what you should get. Now, in this we are talking about touchless experiences, and I believe by touchless we mean not having the need to depend on a human, because when you say touchless, it's not only about physical but also reliance on some person on phone or at a call center or so. So when we are serving these customers in insurance, it being very B2B2C, like you are going through an agent, agents are also large and they are operating with multiple insurers. Where to digitize is a question to go back and ponder again. So while we are talking about the digital natives or the migrants, but essentially while the customer may be talking to an agent and at the same time on the phone researching that where is the best bet or the cost, he wants that one person or that one net to catch if something goes wrong during the claim. And that's where the human aspect will always remain in insurance. So when you have to empower the intermediation channels, and that is what we have also tried to do at Generali, that 190 company, year-old company that we have realized that these intermediations are always going to remain, and of course there will be companies which will come, which would say that we are totally digital and we will do the business digitally only, but customers will want that human element over there. So we offer them the intermediaries, the portals through which they can have ease of doing business. Then sort of the personalized microsites or websites through which again they can explain about what their offerings are. And then also enabling these intermediaries to create their own small kind of brand linking with the insurer when they are reaching on out on WhatsApp or Facebook or other social media to explain why, what is required, when it is required. And then finally coming to the service aspect of it, I would not claim that we are only the people who are doing this, but almost all of us, I'm sure in this room, are doing various digital ways of improving customer service. So at the moment of truth in claim, for example, we are more and more shifting towards the video-based streaming, instant assessment and settlement, and that is a good percentage of our claim settlement, because small claims and which can be easily educated and which can be trusted can be done that more. Of course, there are international companies like Lemonade, which based on trust of declaration of the customer on a video call will also be educating the claim, not necessarily going into the entire documents. And the service aspect, and when we are talking about conversational AI, which can be both a chat-based AI or a voice-based AI, we are doing it through unique chatbot on our website, and which we are looking to build across all our properties. So we have tried to make this person also human and reflecting the brand that we are. The lion being our mascot, so we have built a Leo around that, who can also like sort of crack jokes with the customer while solving the problems, and then assist them. But while all this gamut of things are happening, it's very important to look at the digital experience along with personalization. That is, do not do this automation at the cost of the customer. And where it is required, allow and enable him to be able to shift to a human being who, if nothing else, understands that this has gone beyond control and can say, hey, this looks like something which requires some pondering to do, and I'll have to research this and get back to you. So if these aspects are taken into consideration, then maybe the touchless experience is really seamless, it is really effortless, and that is what I feel all the customers and partners are looking forward to.
Thanks very much. So we learned that a lot of customer data is being collected by other companies. I would want to know from Sapna that how are the insurers utilize these customer data to deliver personalized products and services that meet the unique needs of the customers?
Sure, thanks for that question. So, as I kind of alluded to, and even my panel members, I think for customer experience and personalization, data is like the oil, right, or whatever, that's the code. And the second fact is consumers are willing to share data as long as they get something back. So now with these two concepts, you can really take it across, like say the product design. And I'll give you an example. So, at ManipalCigna, we have a product, and actually not many other insurance products have also have that, which is the concept of reward points. That means, insurance is ultimately risk, right? So instead of only the insurer owning the risk, it's actually the consumer and insurer coming together for owning that risk. So I'm saying that as a consumer, I plan to be healthy, I plan to take steps to maintain my health, and hence, what would I get back? Right? I think this is an ultimate example of partnership, of managing that consumer risk. So if you're going to walk X number of steps, you're going to share that data with me. And then on renewal, we'll have a reduction in premium. So really put the money, walk the talk kind of concept, which is rewards for staying healthy. And we call this concept healthy rewards. So you're actually sharing data, and that's coming into your value in terms of the product that you are consuming. Yeah, so I think that's one example that I would like to share. And the other example, and I think in terms of the conversational AI and a lot of technology to kind of give that experience, in Cigna worldwide, there is, we actually do this thing which I find very interesting, which is based on the voice of the consumer. You're actually assigning, people at the back end to service the consumer. So you see a consumer who's kind of stressed, and you're at the voice, voice recognition AI, and then you're kind of actually managing your call center and your modes of communication. So you know that this consumer is prefers voice chat, or this consumer prefers only text. So basis that you'll be orchestrating your entire customer service based on the past consumer data, and you can really bring that together to orchestrate the different channels of communication, and then actually also orchestrate, if you're going to go into a personal mode, what kind of a telecaller will be, or what kind of a service rep is going to service that consumer. So I think that's really two good examples of data sharing that I can at this point of time share.
Right. Thank you very much. So as the customers' expectations are continuing to evolve, how are the insurers, what are they doing to stay ahead of the curve by adopting innovative technologies and processes that improve customer engagement and satisfaction? If Sachin could take that.
Yes. Thank you, Muktesh, for the question. So, to answer this, I would like to talk about a few cornerstones that I think are very crucial in handling this. The first has been talked about often on this panel today and before this, which is basically personalization. So, there is no end to the data that all insurance companies capture. I think all of us agree to that. The problem being that much of the data is not getting utilized. We have customer demographic information, we have a history of the policies that the customer has bought with us. We also have credit scores and so on and so forth. What is not happening is, at least has not been happening to the extent is, there is no single view of the customer that a company has. When a customer calls you, he expects that you know everything about him, and the CRM or the customer service executive who's talking to him need not have to waste time in understanding the customer. So, getting personalization onto a single page application where when he calls, everything about the customer is available to the CSC on a single view, that is what I think will really help. That's cornerstone number one. The second one, again, is digitalization. I think KAMLESH spoke about it, and sadly, as an insurance industry, we are the last amongst the BFSI segment to latch onto the bandwagon. But having said that, we are now rapidly progressing. I think all companies are investing heavily into digital as we speak. And when we say digital, what are we talking about? We are talking about having a good mobile app. We are talking about having a good customer portal, where when the customer comes, for example, I've seen cases in some companies when I log into their portal to actually buy a policy. So while the product information is there, I enter all my information there, and the last screen tells me, for the next steps, please contact our call center. So that is not what I'm expecting there as a customer. The third cornerstone being AI. Now, AI is being talked about a lot, but how many companies are actually using AI to the best effect possible is not yet out there. For example, chatbots. Small utility, but extremely powerful. Now, when we interact with any company, and we expect that the chatbot should be able to deliver whatever we ask out of it, and using NLP and algorithm behind it, the chatbot should be able to guide me to a logical conclusion. So that's what AI can do for us. The fourth one, very simple to speak about, automation. Now, we all have insurance policies, we all go through the underwriting process and the claims process, but we know how much of a pain that can be. I'm not asking, it's a rhetoric question here, but how many of us actually stepped into a bank's premises of late? I don't remember the last time I had to visit a bank branch. But is that true for insurance? Not really. I mean, there are times when you have to go and get your claim registered, you have to have a surveyor come over and get the survey done. So why not have automation of underwriting processes and claim processes to the extent that the human interaction is minimized? The customer really doesn't have to pay too much attention after submitting the initial information. The last cornerstone here after AI, after automation, is basically partnering with an insurtech company. Now, there are many brick and mortar insurance companies which started off in 2000. They've come a long way, they've gained a lot of market share. But what is happening now is, now to come up the digital curve and do it in quick time, when there are a lot of digital companies like Digit or Attra coming into the market, it might take a long time for them to match up with them. So the easier way to do that and not spend too much money or effort in actually developing it in-house is partner with the insurtech companies, which can actually help you develop all of the previous cornerstones that I talked about. So that's my answer, sir. And that I would like to hand it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sachin. We heard a lot about conversational AI, voice AI is also transforming the way insurers engage with their customers. So, Anjana, would you please tell us what are the strategies that the leading insurers are using to effectively leverage this voice AI?
I would say, there are attempts which have already been made, see, there are multiple ways to look at it. One is how the customer perceives. If we look at the proliferation of the smart speaker devices, right? I just made a note that there's a 30 billion market of smart speaker devices which has been forecasted for 2024. It's not far off, right? So, and it seems 75% of the households have smart speaker devices already in place. So, which means somewhere every, and I was just reading, 50% of US population uses voice search features daily, and 71% of consumers prefer to conduct queries by voice. So, which means, if there is so much of adoption of the customers for voice, why should we, not experiment and figure how we can use voice AI to provide the services, vital services, even to onboard a customer to acquire a customer. So, having said which, attempts are, as I said earlier, we are working at the periphery where voice AI is being used to analyze and derive inputs to smarten the pitch, to smarten the experience, basis the learnings, the dispositions countered, looking at the dispositions, looking at the tonality of the voice, using voice AI and then figuring out, okay, fine, whether there is a coherence or not. Again, voice AI for sales is something which is being experimented at least at IndiaFirst. And we are trying to figure out, while a sales guy is on the move, can he on demand, say, okay, fine, what is my target to achievement, and it's a device that is glued on and he gets a response. He doesn't have to wait, stop, and open a dashboard and see, okay, fine, this is where you are. So some vital data, some product information, some codes on the move, can we not enable it using voice AI? The answer is yes. How fast we adopt voice AI is something which is a question, because ultimately people, so voice biometrics is another example, right? But then there is a question about apprehension, about the users accepting voice biometric and having the faith in the solution and the technology. That is one aspect. Second is, if we were to provide voice as a service, so while today we have proliferation of smart devices, today we have, but it is all being used for very generic information. Have we as a customer base also evolved to have our financial transactions being, would we accept having financial transactions being enabled on these smart devices is something which is a question. But yeah, sooner than later, so if you go by the searches, which means our SEO already has to, get rather than going for text-based searches, now we need to optimize SEO for voice-based searches as well, because if the number of searches, the search percentage has increased, right, considerably. So definitely it's going to become an acceptable norm. Maybe it's still a bit premature.
Thank you very much. Jitendra, if you could tell us what are the key challenges and opportunities for insurance companies looking to build an intelligent business model using advanced AI and data analytics?
I think, when you look at today, in the last 5 years, and I think it will happen in the next 5 years, because we've heard data is the new oil. So currently what is happening is all brick and mortar is now moving to digital, right? So that's kind of going to happen in the next 4-5 years as such. But what is the future? The future is going to be targeted customers using AI, or whatever I can do is now I can pinpoint at a particular segment of customer and target that. And moving ahead, like one of the products we have is using AI to actually give products and services to the customers. For example, today we have an app-based insurance which captures your driving behavior to actually give you your score for driving and accordingly price your insurance policy. I think somebody also touched upon was health insurance. I think if you look at the world market today, your health insurances are also dependent on your habits. For example, if you have a smartwatch where you are, say, doing 10,000 steps a day, you are eating the right things, etc. All this put together can be priced into your product at the end of the day. Typically claims AI is also something that we look at. Now instead of somebody actually doing an underwriting today on insurance, you might have bots, etc., and AI-based underwriting getting done. So those are the kind of benefits. Now this entire market first has moved from a physical to a digital network. Now it will move to entire sales, which is AI-based, or some percentages is already been moving. But I think the next decade or so in insurance will be based on AI-based selling, etc. That's a big positive coming out of AI, because now we know such a lot about the customer. You don't have to price for the entire gamut of people. In fact, one of the things that also is, I was sitting in one of the international conferences where discussed was autonomous cars now, right? I mean, the day is not far where we get autonomous cars coming into no driver, right? Where is the insurance? Then in that case, what is going to happen is, even for example, today we are paying for a cab. Probably we have data to that extent that we don't need to pay for a cab. In fact, once the cab reaches you, they know what are you going to order, breakfast, in terms of news, in terms of what are the things they charge you for that and not for the ride. So those are the kind of things, working on AI. So AI could have tremendous benefits. I think we'll have to see. It's a very exciting phase of time where AI actually takes the industry to. And what all changes are happening. I think digital was the first wave, I believe. AI is going to be the next wave. And that is where the industry is going to move. Of course, it is going to take time, as we said, we are a little laggards in terms of adoption of that. But I think the companies who are going to take, who are digital savvy and going to adopt this kind of technologies are going to be the future as such. In terms of, I don't see too much of challenges, but the biggest challenge is remain people. I think that's when I think a huge amount of investment and focus is required today. Because, your daily chaos is so much that you don't have a particular, first you don't have talent. That you don't have any kind of readily available data also of wow needs to be done. So it's a lot of experimentation, and that requires a lot of investment of time and money, and that will take some amount of time. And people definitely will come over the period of time, but this is all trial and error, and that in technology today, as people, as system processes, that over the period of time it just gets finer and finer, the more benefit that we get from this.
True, I guess adaptability is the biggest challenge for people in my generation. Thank you very much. Yes, so a lot of software solutions have emerged, in the way of this digitalization. DXC has one such, it's become a leading point of sale for insurance companies. So Mangesh will probably be able to help us understand, what is the role that this DXC is playing in driving digital transformation?
Yeah, the digital experience, when it was first coined by McKinsey, it is actually looking at digital experience as the next stage of the customer experience. So the way it was looked at, the digital experience will go transcend beyond the usual siloed customer experience. So that's where I would like to stand corrected on this question, that it is not just one of the point of sale. When the whole concept of digital experience was mentioned, it was a universal digital experience. Now what goes into it, when you look at the various studies, even this McKinsey study talked about only 14% of the insurers actually believe that they really are able to handle this true digital experience. Now why it is so languishing? Even a Forrester study revealed that the customers were not very comfortable. Nearly only 41% believe that when they interacted with any touch point of the insurer, the answers were different from different touch points. Now why does it happen? While we talk about all this technology, why the answers are so different for a different point? Second is, they also believe that even the physical channels that Shari mentioned, they were not knowledgeable enough, because the customer is today able to research, as KAMLESH mentioned, he is able to do research not only on the Google. Now you have ChatGPT giving us much more qualified information. So when these things are happening, the customer is educated and knowledgeable, but the insurer's inconsistency in information across all touch points, or the knowledge of that his level is still languishing at the point. So the issue is not about the technology touch points that we are talking about. The issue is about the consolidation that Sachin mentioned in terms of the basic information at an enterprise level. Are we really consolidated to give the customer a holistic information across his two policies at a basic level, or at a point of underwriting, whether I am doing the total sum and risk assessment before issuing policy, or forget about the point where whether I am really leveraging the external telematics data, whether the information to qualify and give an additional discount. Why is that the insurers are languishing on these points? Based on our analysis, what we found is that most places it is the core level, the digital transformation is not happening, and that's not because most of the insurers today are running with an agile rollouts. The agile is making the initiatives very short term in terms of its thinking, and there is a pressure to really rush into things. And in the whole process, there is a compromise on agility of the enterprise. So the focus should be not on the agile rollouts, the focus should be on how do I change the agility of my organization to be ready for any touch points. Whether if I am launching a product, can it be launched and the customer comes for a quotation? Will it be consistent whether the customer comes to a website, whether it comes to the aggregator, whether it comes to the bank assurance front end or the agent? How are all these touch points? So it is a more of a the digital experience talks about how do I remain consistent, whether it happens to a compare information, whether we have our policy bazaars here, or we're talking about Bima Sugam happening next, or whether there will be a compare mode the way it happens in Singapore. Is the customer going to get a consistent experience not only for the commoditized term product but across all the products? And that's when we would have said that we would have really reached a transformational capability to where the APIs are available, where the data is available in a consistent form, and that will be the core to making this happen in terms of a true digital experience.
Thank you very much, Mangesh. Learning from this, Hrishita, what is it that insurers in India can learn on customer engagement from the other industries or from the insurers in other countries?
So, just to summarize the discussion we had, the buzzwords we heard are knowing your customer, are digitization, are having one view. And when I hear all this, what I see is that the first thing that the industry needs to adopt is having a one view of a customer. So like a similar practice in mutual fund is having a consolidated account statement, so that the advice that I give to the customer is the right advice basis is view of holistic portfolio. Or drawing parallel from banking industry, we have a civil report where a customer applies for loan and we know history of whatever loans he has applied and what is his behavior. Today in insurance, we have no view what is the customer behavior in terms of buying as well as claim. How it will help is that one, it will improve the advice that we give to the customer, that today we have a lot of to and fro in terms of information exchange with the customer. That will go away once I have a consolidated view of what is that the customer has bought till date. Second is that the cost and the claims will be adjusted accordingly once we have a holistic view of the customer. So our risk assessment will be much more prudent. So to summarize, this will solve two problems. One, it will improve the quality of advice that we give to our customer and the experience that the customer has with insurers. Second, it will make organizations much more agile and profitable in terms of evaluating the right risk associated with a specific customer.
Thank you very much. I think Anjana wants to add something.
I just wanted to add, while all the attempts are being made, while the focus was as to how do we have the customer's data aggregated, but also attempt has to be made as to, okay, fine, this is customer's first party data, which is the transaction data which I have. How do I encourage the customer, because everybody is wearing a wearable, everybody is using so many devices. How do I encourage the customer to get more of his data, and how do I maintain it too? Where do I have a place where I can store the customer behavior data? This extended data which is there, right? I mean, A is how do I encourage the customer to share? Second is, how do I then consolidate this customer's data, wearable data, whatever data which we've acquired, it is still first party data. And then together use it, A, to devise new products, B, to offer that personalized layer, or knowing the preferences, knowing the time, everything that comes in, So that's the insight that we get. So how do we derive insights from this and then come up with meaningful, relevant product offerings or any services? So,
absolutely, yes. Thank you. Just, if I make a few points to add, while in the insurance spectrum, and especially in India, we want to tap on the entire ecosystem. We want to maybe look at the blockchain, and we talked about fantastic things that we want to have that holistic one view of the customer. That I believe is going to take time to build, especially in the general insurance space, because there are so many dependencies. But while we do that, and we do not shirk away from that, when we talk about digital or innovation, there are many other dividers which can be also created, and these need not, innovation or process need not necessarily always mean technology. Just in conclusion, to share an example or two. For example, when we do our motor claims, we find that for the assessment or the moment of truth, the customer is really happy when through the cycle someone is building up to it and he has been spoken to at the 3-4 critical times when the initial survey happens, when the assessment is about to happen for the final communication, and also when the vehicle is ready. So that builds up to why he has got a certain amount versus why he has not. Of course, there could be the app or the settlement letter that you give during the bifurcation, but he looks for that human. And that helps us to be on all our insurance markets, like to have sort of leadership in the Generali insurance markets, where they give very high scores because of that human touch over there. And similarly, like if we are talking about various things like financial endorsements or changes, when they come to a call center, a small thing like empowering your call center to have the underwriting capabilities or to take those decisions, empowerment and that knowledge, these are also innovations to look at. So while we do this journey, some of the commonsensical things are also that we as insurers need to keep looking at and to serve to our customers at all times.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shankar. So we are left with practically no time now, but I quickly ask you, what are the emerging trends do you see shaping customer expectations in the next 10 years? And how are the insurers coping up? Stay ahead.
So I think a lot of us have talked about or touched different aspects. But if you look at any business, what is critical is one, acquire customer, and second important part is retain customers. This is a basic mantra, and I probably want to give you an example which will sum up a lot amount of thoughts, and many of our fellow panelists have touched upon it. Think about it, there is a couple who is a working professional, extremely busy. It's a Monday morning, the husband rushes to drop his 7-year-old daughter to school. And I want you to visualize this kind of a scenario. I think it will tell us where we are or where we want to reach. So the father drops the daughter at school, rushing cut to cut because it's a Monday morning, there is a presentation, meeting in office. Wife is also a senior professional. She is also on her way out to go to office. The father quickly drops the daughter in school and he goes to his office. Zap, within 1 hour, the daughter starts throwing up with a severe abdominal pain. Okay? So the school authorities are worried. They call her father. The father tells the school there is an app of a health insurance company. Why don't you click on that app? And immediately the app connects to a doctor which is online. The doctor asks for the symptoms, abdominal pain, vomiting, color of vomit, blah, 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 blah. Immediately, you call it AI or you call it a decision tree, which comes in saying that there is a severe ailment. Immediately, there is an insurance policy which is already activated. There is a hospitalization bed which is booked. The doctor advises that the kid should be hospitalized. Now think about it, both the working professionals are at office. The diagnosis happens, hotline. There is a bed booking in the hospital. There is an admission which is being done. And immediately upon admission, the doctor actually calls the father or the mother who's the primary contact and gives the first narration of the description by the time they reach to the hospital. The point I'm trying to make is, if you are able to acquire customer, the first premise for it is trust. If you want to make sure that you want to get a trust of a customer, the underlying premise is experience. If you're able to give that experience, you are actually able to drive advocacy. And advocacy is the mantra for you to not only sustain or rise, but also to become formidable or competitive in the market. So that's a sense I just wanted to give this group. I hope I didn't take long, but these are the elements where you create digital as a mean, but more importantly, you create experience through an integrated ecosystem and kind of leverage your brand.
Thank you very much.
Can I go?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I just have 2 quick points to make here. The future holds a lot of possibilities, but given what we know right now, I think we continue to hyper-personalize offerings for the clients. That's one. Secondly, providing the customers with a seamless omni-channel experience so that ऐसा नहीं हो कि मैं पॉलिसी डॉक्यूमेंट तो मेरे ईमेल पे आ जाता है बट रिन्यूअल नोटिस नहीं आ रहा बिकॉज कंपनी के अंदर दोनों सिस्टम अलग है एक में मेरा ईमेल है दूसरे में नहीं सो वी डोंट वांट सच सिचुएशंस टू बी देयर इन द फ्यूचर दैट्स वन and another important aspect here is we also should realize that when we collect customers' information, a lot of it is personal information. So the company which is actually very cognizant of the fact that they are holding sensitive information and does a lot of, takes a lot of effort to protect that information and use it judiciously, I think that is the company that a customer is going to trust and, maybe have a larger basket of products with them. So that's my 2 bits.
Thank you very much. I guess some audience might have a few questions. So if you could quickly, if somebody wants to ask.
Sure. So I think, Muktesh, in the interest of the time, we can take one quick question from the audience. So if you could raise your hand and ask the question. And also to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the entire panel is available post this session. So further questions you can definitely take out with them once this panel is over. But we can take one quick question.
And there are
I'm audible. So while I'm a sponsor, but hearing to these all lovely people here who are very knowledgeable, I thought I'd behave like my customer today. So very interesting thing happened with me about 2 months back when I had to renew the insurance for my motor car. So the question is to the general people. And as a customer psyche, which is the lowest price? So it's a Maruti car that I had to renew. And I went to the Maruti portal. There were different insurance companies who were offering me different rates. And as an Indian consumer, I picked up the lowest one. So how do you really help a customer make a choice on a higher price when he's just insuring a car for next 1 year and he's not able to get a sense of the value of what will he get in case he's paying a higher premium? Thank you.
So who would want to take this, please?
Okay, but I just know, very, very interesting question. Yeah, so thanks for that question. And I think that's like a challenge, that experience really needs to throw to help consumers be willing to pay a price premium, right? So I think that's like, when consumers are buying a product, then they buy a solution, and then a lot of panelists talk really about their experience and how we can really get that consumer to pay an X more, so it's not just a commodity, but you're paying for their experience. I think that's true. So, I'm going to ask my colleague to answer that from a specific, from the motor insurance perspective. But I think that's like a very good sum up question for this session.
The reason here is like the main brand is the car and insurance is attached to that. If you have to get the customer to relate with that insurance brand and to renew with the existing brand, that journey has to happen from the time he took the last year's policy to the time that the retention comes. Like how you are engaging with the customer throughout that journey, creating the value, telling what the brand stands for, what are the things that is getting covered over there, and what are the additional benefits are unique to the brand. Because it will not happen at the last moment when you go to the portal of the car company and there you buy, then you will certainly fall for the one which is the best price over there. So take is the benefits have to be kept on being educated in a nice manner, and there has to be a proper communication journey throughout this, and that's what we are endeavoring to do. All that said and done, there will still remain market dynamics in this, like when there is a national tie-up like Maruti also, they may or may not share all those contact details for you to be in touch throughout the year. So you have to leverage and find ways and means how to do that, sometimes directly when you have the benefit of that very important asset called contact details, or other times through the partner through whom you have procured. Then you have to reach through that Maruti or that agent to be in touch with the customer and to explain that what the brand holds for him. Then maybe at that time he will think of you more positively for all the experiences that have happened through the year.
Thank you so much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for this wonderful panel of experts here on digital customer experience. And I would now like to quickly call on stage Mr. Srinath Nair, Head of India Sales from Hyperverge, to kindly do the honors of felicitating this wonderful panel of experts which we have here. Srinath, thank you so much for doing the honors. We'll start with Mr. Shankar Mishra first. Mr. Shankar Mishra, ladies and gentlemen, Senior Vice President, Customer Experience from Future Generali, India Insurance Company. And we would like to thank him for his wonderful contribution in the panel session. A big round of applause for him. Mr. KAMLESH MANUJA, Chief Operating Officer from Edelweiss Tokio Life Insurance. We would like to thank Mr. KAMLESH for his wonderful contribution in the panel session. A big round of applause for KAMLESH. Ms. Sapna Desai, ladies and gentlemen, Chief Marketing Officer from ManipalCigna Health Insurance Company. We would like to thank Sapna for a wonderful contribution in the panel session. Ms. Anjana Rao, ladies and gentlemen, CSO, IndiaFirst Life Insurance. We would like to thank Anjana for a wonderful contribution to the panel session. Ms. Hrishita Chandwani, AVP, IMF and Strategic Initiatives from Max Life Insurance. We would like to thank Hrishita for a wonderful contribution to the panel. Mr. Jitendra, Attra, ladies and gentlemen, CFO and Head of Operations from Edelweiss General Insurance Company Limited. We would like to thank Jitendra ji for his wonderful contribution in the panel. Mr. Sachin Shanbhag, Vice President, Data Office from Tata AIG General Insurance. We would like to thank Sachin for his wonderful contribution in the panel session. Mr. Mangesh Vaidla, co-founder and executive director from C2L Base. We would like to thank Mangesh ji for his wonderful contribution in the panel. And our honorable moderator, Mr. Muktesh Narula, CMO from Pinnacle Teleservices. We would like to thank Muktesh ji for his wonderful role as a moderator of this massive panel of 9 people. And what a session we had today to begin with. The very first panel session. We request the panel members to kindly step forward for a group photograph, and Srinath, you could also join them in the group photo.